This Saturday, Kansas is going to face off against in-state rival Kansas State, the 302nd meeting of the Sunflower Showdown. 302.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a long time, Pete.
1 o'clock on CBS. And joining us now to talk about the rivalry and this year's team, two-time All-American and 2005 Big 12 Player of the Year, also a first-round pick and NBA champion, Wayne Simien. How's it going, Wayne?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for all you're doing to highlight Big 12 basketball. You guys have been fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's easy with this great basketball. And what wasn't easy was that Wednesday night game for Kansas. You go into Ames, right? Ames is almost becoming the new Lawrence. You played under Bill Self. That was a tough loss for the Jayhawks. How do you think he handled his team after the game? What was his message?
Yeah, well, I think any way you slice it, whether it was back in November when we were preseason #1 and playing like the #1 team in the country, you can look on the schedule and circle that game in Ames and know that it was going to be a dogfight and a tough one to escape from there unless you're fully assignment correct and the hardest playing team on the court. That happened in spurts last night for the Jayhawks, but when you're on the road in Ames, Hilton Coliseum, one of the most electric environments in all of college basketball. It can't happen in spurts. You got to put a full game together, and it slipped past them a little bit. Probably didn't finish that first half the way that they wanted to. 2 minutes left, down 2, and then open it up to a 10-point lead going into half, and not enough closing speed to be able to cut into that deficit, especially with Hunter Dickinson being in foul trouble, especially with your heart and soul defensively. KJ Adams going out with a shoulder injury, and then, of course, Curtis Jones being on fire there. Deshaun Jackson having a big game off the bench defensively, being -10 on the glass on the road. Not a great recipe for a road win for the Jayhawks.
You know, Wayne, I still think that this Kansas team is one of the best teams in the country, and I feel like they haven't really hit that level because they haven't gotten the level of production they needed to from some of these transfers. We see Zeke Mayo being great, but what is it going to take for guys like Storr, Coit, or Rylan Griffin to join the party and be those guys who we used to seeing them be?
Yeah, you know, this Kansas team is probably reaching a little bit to still establish its identity. You know, when we've seen the success earlier in the league, a lot of that success happened because of the effort and the energy we were playing with, being the most competitive on the team. When I think about being competitive, it's not just trying hard, but it's also making sure that you're disruptive defensively and you're able to impose your will on the other team offensively. And then this team does a great job of playing together, averaging 18 assists a game, but they are really elite and hard to beat when that assist category gets plus 21. Still trying to put some of the pieces together with some of the portal ads. Of course, Zeke Mayo stepped up and being really, really great. But who's going to step up and be that? Got a chance to fit Shaquille Moore a little bit into that starting lineup to kind of give us some life. But we certainly have to get more out of those reserves and even find out, hey, what is our best lineup? Okay, I think we found our starting lineup right now with Shaquille Moore, what he brings energy-wise, defensively-wise, but who's our best defensive unit? Who plays the fastest? Who's the most assignment correct? Who gives us the chance to get defensive stops? And I think at this time, Kansas is still kind of yo-yoing and toying with those lineups. But it's great to have one of the best in the country, Bill Self, at the head chair, figuring that out as we get into conference play further.
Well, an opportunity to figure it out and for us to see how they figure it out comes up this weekend, the return of the Sunflower Showdown. This rivalry goes back to 1907. What is the atmosphere like in Lawrence when the Wildcats come to town?
The atmosphere when it comes to the Sunflower Showdown is this: nothing else matters. Okay, not the loss earlier in the week to Iowa State, not what's coming down the pipe with TCU on the road. You're not paying attention to anyone else's conference matchups and worried about who's beating who and what the implications of that are. You are fully focused on beating your rival Kansas State, a very dangerous Kansas State team, mind you, as they are on a 4-game skid, pretty much playing with house money. This is the type of win that they're seeking that could really jumpstart their season. And Jerome Tang is one of the solid motivators around, particularly in the conference. And so, hey, nothing else matters. Beating your rival, protecting your home court, and they're going to be locked in to do just that.
You played in 9 of these games, including senior night. How special was that?
Yeah, really special. Being a Kansas kid and understanding really what the rivalry means, knowing when my mom and dad had to go to the factory at Hallmark Cards the next day. They're going to be intermingled in with Kansas State fans, making sure my mom didn't have to lower her eyes to anybody. Having to take the responsibility of letting some of the younger guys or guys that aren't from the area know what this game really, really means. Those are some of the responsibilities that some of the local guys and the team leaders like me had to make sure, especially now as we're in an era where just seeing Kansas on your chest doesn't automatically win games. Being in Allen Fieldhouse doesn't automatically win games, but you got to make sure you bring it each and every time you step on the court.
All right, let's look ahead to Saturday. So on paper, this looks like a good matchup for the Jayhawks, but you never know when it comes to rivalry games. What does Kansas need to do to get the W this weekend?
Well, for me, my eye and affinity goes towards the matchup in the middle. Of course, I'm always going to watch and gravitate and be extra critical of the bigs, and this is a pretty interesting narrative that you guys have been following. We got two Big Ten former foes going at it. Coleman Hawkins, Hunter Dickinson, both who have received a little bit of scrutiny maybe for not playing up to their expected potential. Both are more than capable of dominating and taking a game over. And so I think it's going to be really important for those guys to really establish a presence for their teams to be victorious in this difficult matchup and battle. And so that's what I'm going to be looking forward towards seeing on Saturday.
All right, the 302nd meeting of the Sunflower Showdown tips off Saturday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Wayne, thank you so much for joining us on Inside the 12. Best of luck to your Jayhawks this season.
Thanks so much, Rock Chalk.